We might just start at the beginning. Could you tell us about what happened to you?
Yeah. So I have two little children at home. I have a 7-year-old very soon and a 2.5-year-old little boy. And in between them both, we had a little girl who was stillborn at 33 weeks gestation at one of the big hospitals in 2020.
Okay. And you reached out to me because last week you were pretty alarmed by the debate around the live births bill and this notion of forced birth. And you yourself have delivered a stillborn child, and you were, I guess, willing to share that with people so they could understand what that was like. Could you talk us through what happened?
Yes. I was very disturbed by the lack of understanding around what actually happens during birth or after a neonatal death. People have this perception that, I don't know, a baby's a clump of cells before, immediately before they're born, and they're just not. And birth is, so when my little girl was in my belly, we found out, unfortunately, when we went to hospital to get her movements checked, that her heart wasn't beating. One of the scariest, most awful, traumatic moments of my life. I was then asked to go to one of the big tertiary hospitals in Adelaide to deliver her.
How old was she?
She was 33 weeks along.
33 weeks along.
So she was just into the third trimester.
And her heart had stopped beating.
What
was it like seeing that on the ultrasound?
Oh, I just bawled my eyes out in the room. It was horrible. I remember the doctor, they fumbled around for a while. They couldn't find her heartbeat. They fumbled and said, it's probably going to be fine. We're probably just not very good at finding it. We probably just need a doctor to come and do it. And then the doctor found her and put her ultrasound up on the screen and pointed at her heart. And he said, that's her heart. And I saw it wasn't moving. And I just said, it's not beating. And he said, yes, I'm so sorry. And I was in a room alone by myself. My husband was out with my eldest daughter, making sure she was okay. And I just put my face in this midwife's, I just put my face in this midwife's chest, and I just started crying my eyes out, just crying my eyes out.
Yeah.
It was really horrible.
Yeah.
It was awful.
Okay, so then you had to deliver her?
Yes. So when we went to the big public hospital, which is where they do all the deliveries of these babies after you've experienced neonatal death, they ripened my cervix, and I was offered, before they did that, I was offered 2 options. I had a previous C-section, so there was the risk of uterine rupture. So they offered, would you like to have another C-section, or would you like to just be induced and deliver her naturally? It's the better way to deliver her. I was really encouraged to deliver her naturally, because at that point there's 0 risk to the baby.
Yeah.
The baby's already gone.
But you had to deliver her?
I had to deliver her somehow.
There was no other way to get the baby out?
No other way.
You had to go through birth?
Had to go through birth.
Yeah. Did they explain why?
No, that's just it. It's a full baby at that point. There's no other way to get the baby out.
And what was it like delivering a stillborn child?
Well, I've done both now. My son, I've delivered him naturally as well, after her. And it's much the same, except during a live birth, a baby naturally manoeuvres their way out themselves. They bend their head the right way. They naturally know what to do. But whereas with a stillborn baby, they're gone. They can't move. There's a bit of manual help needed from the midwives to manoeuvre them out. Tearing is still a risk.
Yeah.
It was a risk for me. It happened both times, both in my son's birth, who thank God is alive, and my daughter's birth.
Yeah. Is it painful delivering your stillborn?
The same pain.
Yeah.
The same pain, the same experience.
And when the baby comes out, normally with my pregnancies, the baby comes out and there's so much noise. You're listening as the mother for the child's cry. You hear them say it's a boy or a girl. There's just so much activity and noise.
Yeah.
What's it like with a stillborn?
It's very quiet. Anybody who's been to maybe the funeral of a younger person knows when a mother is there for that moment, it's very traumatic for her. Anybody who's seen an Aboriginal community who's gone through the death of a young person, you know those cries, it's haunting. And I remember just blacking out for a moment. I don't know if I screamed, I don't know if I said, I don't remember a good few minutes after she was born. It's the deepest, it's the deepest trauma.
Yeah.
It's the deepest trauma you can experience.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry.
And what do you then say to politicians who are saying that killing a baby with potassium chloride to stop their heart and then deliver that child stillborn, that's what late-term abortion is, that is actually in the best interests of women? What would you say to these politicians?
It makes me angry, actually.
Yeah.
It makes me really angry when I hear this from politicians, because this is not a women-centred practice. The trauma that you are left with after delivering a full, almost full-term baby, your milk still comes in, you still have tearing, you still have the hormonal ride afterwards, you've still got a risk of postpartum depression. Every risk is still there, you just don't have a little baby with you anymore. It doesn't erase anything they're going through. This isn't women-centred care.
Yeah.
It just erases a little human life and adds to the problem, adds to what they're going through.
Yeah. It's very traumatic, isn't it, on the mother?
It's insulting. It's honestly insulting. You don't know what you're talking about unless you've, They just don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, yeah. Did you hope, as you're delivering your baby girl, did you hope that she would be all right?
There's always a little part of your mind. There's always a little part of your mind that just hopes that they're all wrong, that just hopes that the scam was wrong, hopes that she's just still and quiet and happy in there, hopes that by some miracle, there are stories of things like this happening, there's always that hope, but
And so
when reality hits, it's not real.
So what about when you met her? Did you hold her?
Yeah, like I said, I blanked out for a moment.
Yeah.
It was very blank for a bit. I did hold her on my chest, and when I did, what I do remember is just crying and telling her I was sorry over and over again.
It wasn't your fault.
I know it's not my fault, but you still blame yourself.
Yeah.
You still live with that guilt.
Yeah.
The guilt never ends. I have my 2 little kids at home, and I've done bits of work here and there, and I stand up and I walk around in my life like I'm fine and help, bury things and swallow things, but every day it's still like I'm walking around with an open wound. You don't get over something like that. And I know other women who've been through it who have experienced the same. I'm just tired every day. I'm very tired every day.
And you wanted to speak to me because you don't want other women to have to deliver their baby stillborn. Yeah.
No.
It's very brave of you.
Thank you. I just know that it's not going to fix what they're going through. I just know that it's not going to help. It's going to add to what they're going to live with for the rest of their lives. If we've got women coming in for mental health issues, if we've got women coming in for physical health issues, which we know are not life-threatening at that point, you can't, go through this procedure if you're not stable. We know this. Yeah. If we've got women in those vulnerable situations, the last thing they need is to go through this as well.
Yeah, through feticide, through potassium chloride into their baby's heart, and then delivering a stillborn child. So your daughter, did you give her a name?
Yes, her name was Lena.
And can you tell us about Lena?
So she was beautiful. She had beautiful dark hair, like chocolatey brown hair. She had her dad's little pointy chin. She was gorgeous. Yeah. was a really pretty baby.
Yeah. And so does it hurt to hear the Premier say this bill, the live births bill, is just the culture wars? Or to hear Susan Close and Katrine Hildyard, she's the Minister for Child Protection, and her saying this is just healthcare, killing these babies and delivering them stillborn is women's healthcare. When you think of Lena holding her and you hear these statements, what would be your message to, the Premier, to Katrine Hildyard, to Susan Close?
It's just not women's healthcare. It's not healthcare. Sorry, I don't see how it's healthcare.
Yeah.
I do not see how it's healthcare. It feels that it's incentivized. It feels that it's money-based. It feels that it's not for the best interest of the woman. It feels that it's just, we don't want to add to a system. We don't want to, these talks about it's between a woman and her healthcare provider. Well, I'm traumatized from going into hospitals. I can't go into hospitals anymore. I avoid them like the plague. And we talk about women-centered care. Well, there are women who are in my position who plan home births, for example, and they're stigmatized for it. How is that women-centered care? We're not addressing the deep, deep trauma that this leaves people with.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I hear you. I hear your passion for this as someone who has had a stillborn baby, and you just don't want other women to have to go through that. Yeah. Is there anything else you would like to say that I haven't asked that you'd like to share with us?
I just hope that these 45 women have gotten some support. I just hope there's been counselling for them. I hope there's been supports put in place for them.
Yeah.
That there's ongoing support as well.
Yeah.
That's all I hope.
Yeah, because we've talked a lot about the 45 healthy babies who've been killed in 8 months through that injection of potassium chloride and then delivered stillborn. But we haven't talked a lot about the 45 women who underwent this procedure and weren't given the option of a live birth. They didn't have that option, which is why this bill is so important. It gives them choice so that they don't have to deliver a stillborn child. Yeah.
Well, it gives them, it prevents this trauma.
Yeah.
It prevents the trauma that they're going to inevitably go through on top of what they're already struggling with.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you
You're
for
so
giving me the
brave.
opportunity.
You're so brave to share your story.
Thank you.